Hey guys, welcome back to the WBF podcast. I'm here again with my wife, Jodie. Jodie, how you doing?
This is weird, but it's good.
This is crazy, right? I didn't get to really enjoy this moment last time because I was a nervous wreck, if you guys couldn't tell. But it was an amazing moment, and we cannot wait to continue to build on it.
Yes, he was stressed about it. I'm like, why are you stressed? Doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be done.
Yeah, I didn't even, going into the podcast with Dylan, I wasn't even thinking this was going to be like a forever thing. I thought it was going to be a do it once, see what it was like, and then kind of go from there. And I don't know. I just think it's just time to go ahead and go for it. So we're using my phone, and audio is first and foremost. It's the bread and butter. It's the most important for people who are driving. I'd rather the audio be great and then the video catch up. So that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, start rolling.
Start rolling. I think we are in a season of preparation.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like it's been laid on my heart. I've been getting counseled by Pastor Jeff, most of you know, and it's been something that we've talked about, and we talked about it extensively. So, what does preparation look like for you? And we're kind of going to get into what preparation looks like for us. So, that's where we'll start. We got our list here. We made it after the podcast last time, after we kind of went through some of our achievements of last year, and so we're super excited to be with you guys. And it's okay to mess up sometimes and feel like I beat myself
100%.
up last week over the podcast. And Jody can tell you, I was looking like I was about to cry.
Yeah, I was like, are you okay?
She's like, you can cry if you want to.
Yeah.
I was like, don't say that. I will.
Well, it's one of those things, you just gave yourself such a hard time, and I'm like, everybody has a first, like nobody starts off at perfection, right? So it's like, you have to have grace for yourself, and, I just feel like you didn't give yourself, like, any grace, so.
Don't be afraid to talk right into the middle of that thing.
Sorry, I forget.
If you need to, like, scoot it over and then, like, this, and then.
Okay.
Yeah. So. Do you want to start with the preparation stuff, or do you want to go into the list stuff first?
I don't know. What do you feel led to go for?
I don't know if there's a whole lot of stuff to dive into with the preparation. I just, something that has been taught a lot in Danny Kids life group we've been kind of going through Abraham's story. Seems like we keep on going back to that. And it's an amazing story of someone being called into something.
Yes.
And go. And, there's not a whole lot of, like, steps to the plan that God gives him, right?
100%. And that's his obedience was just incredible. What were they talking about? It's like, it's not even just like a yes, but like, yes before I even know what you're asking. Mm-hmm. Yes. So, just an incredible obedience, an incredible trust in the Lord. So, it's been really good. Danny and Christy are amazing.
There's more than just Abraham's story. I think Moses was the one who was like, before you even ask, like at the burning bush, he was like, yes, right? Or was that Abraham? Anyways, there's a lot of people who just said yes to what God had called them into. And, I don't want to chase a rabbit with Moses, but with Abraham, I see a lot of what we're stepping into as a similar thing, like do this, and you have to have trial and error to figure it out. Abraham, you read his story, like, man, it seems like he was either making mistakes or doing things like kind of crazy, like telling these people that his wife's his sister, like half-truths, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's also a totally different time, so I try to keep in mind, like, he didn't have, like, the Bible. So, like, he didn't have the rule book, he didn't have, like, he was paving the way, So, I feel like God just has always been incredible with his grace and mercy. Because we all fail, like, every day. So,
Right.
like it's kind of one of those things where it's just that almost like that initial example of just like, I don't know, he's there's so much grace and mercy, and I mean, even from the very, very beginning with Adam and Eve, I mean, we have so much of it. We're so undeserving.
Yeah, and like he's told he's gonna have a nation, and he's like, Lord, I don't even have offspring. And so him and Sarah's like, go have a baby with this person. And so just along the way, you just see Abraham trying to do things, and then the Lord having grace and like really making him a father of many nations. It's so cool. I feel like about a year ago, I was told, I just felt like I was told, like, do a podcast. And it seems like we're in this trial and error. We've tried, and a lot of successes and a lot of little failures along the way have grown this into what it is. And I think that's the beauty of it, right?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's got, like I said, everybody's got to start. Like nobody. I mean, I don't know very many people who do something the first time and just immediately succeed. Right? There's always an error somewhere, right? Because that, like, we are imperfect creatures. So, yeah, there's definitely been a lot of like trial and error. There's been all these things showing up at the house. I'm like, what is this? What else are we doing right now? And I was like, oh, by the way, I got this. Let's try this. Let's do this. And that's one of those things where as your wife, I have to step in and say, okay, what's reasonable, but also like have the space for like what the Lord is calling you, right? Because like, you're called individually. Like, we're called together, but also we have our own individual ministries. So it's important to like step back and recognize and then come together for us, I think. So that when all those things show up, it's not panic. It's more of like pursuing your passion of what the Lord is like sowing in you, right? He's giving you those visions and those desires and those dreams. So it's supporting you. Sometimes even when my vision, I don't see the vision that you see, right? Because God gives us each our own individual things sometimes. So sometimes it's, I don't know, I just think of as your wife and your partner to just say, okay, I don't know what this is, but, I trust that you're following the Lord, so that makes that a lot easier. So,
Yeah. We try to communicate through things too, and for the most part, any more of the super expensive stuff I am putting on the back burner. This tripod and stuff, we're using my phone to record, so there wasn't a whole bunch of extra spending, but it is like every once in a while stuff will just show up at the door, and she'll be like, man, you're spending like you're my wife, and I'm like, I'm sorry, it is part of it. Something in this season, I feel like we're going to see rapid growth, and I don't know how else to tell you guys, but I just feel like we're going to see rapid growth with this podcast, and I'm so excited for you guys to be a part of it because I want to see and hear about the rapid growth in y'all's life.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be just us. I think
absolutely.
I think there's major trajectory on the horizon.
So if God's calling you to something, like, chase after it, pray about it, prepare yourself for it, because I'm hearing this, go, and I'm getting told, like, you never know. It just takes one person, and then immediately doubt starts creeping in.
Oh yeah, it's so hard to fight. Sometimes.
You're thinking to yourself, am I worthy? Like, am I? I'm 8 weeks sober. It's like I've just had this like huge speed bump. It seems like, so you just start immediately, right? Like rationalizing everything. Like your flesh is like ready to go 100 miles an hour, right?
100%. I always, sometimes I really have to dial back in. Is sometimes when I'm like really struggling with that and I'm really getting confused. It's just like I have to go like, okay, confusion is not from the Lord, so I need to turn back. I need to go back into prayer. I need to go back into my Bible. I need to consult those that I love, that I feel like can give me godly counsel where I'm like lost at, when I just really can't figure it out, you know what I mean? And then you take all of those little pieces, and then that helps me. I always kind of take in everything, and then I kind of feel like I get that clarity to move forward. So, and not everybody who says something or, is going to be impactful. but sometimes just getting like an outside opinion when I'm like truly confused. There are times that you might hear from the Lord and you're like, that's exactly what I need to do. And then there are sometimes where I'm like, gosh, I'm so lost. Like I need to figure it out.
You're trying to hear, and you don't want your heart to deceive you, and you're trying to understand, am I being Spirit-led?
Yes.
And it seems like anytime I'm battling with this, it's like the Lord has been bringing people in to give me some confirmation. And I truly believe it's from people I can trust, people I can like lean on and move forward with this, this passion of mine, and realize like God's ready for you to move into your future. God's ready for you to take step one. You don't have to have everything figured out right this second. Are you trying to figure it out? Like that's a good place to start. For me, it was getting help. I needed to do that. If I didn't do that, this would have failed. It would be a failure right now, but it's not going to be. It's going to be a story of redemption. And so in that, God's ready for me to step out in faith. Like, why not? Why not? So I know it's easier said than done, and we can sit there and beat ourselves up over the head with stuff and wonder, am I worthy? Am I good enough? Am I right? Am I the right person to do this? There's so many other people who could do this, who are more articulate. But the Lord's preparing me and setting me apart to do something. There's plenty of avenues. And so I just think that I'm super excited for what God has in store for us.
I think it's really important too, where you're like, there's a lot of people that could do it better or who are more articulate. It's like, it's going to be the Lord anyway, right?
Right.
So it's like almost giving yourself the room to take the pressure off and just trust that like He's going to give you the words anyway. Sometimes I have to like, when I'm really stressed and I'm like, I can't figure it out, it's like, well, maybe it shouldn't be me figuring it out anyway. Mm-hmm. So maybe I need to take a step back. And that always gives me like a peace where it's like almost like takes the pressure off, where it's like I don't have to be so perfect. Sometimes I have to remember like I'm never going to be perfect anyway, So just turning it back, especially like even in my job when it's like above my head and I'm like, man, I can't get it figured out. It's like sometimes I just have to take some time to spend some time in prayer. And just say, like, give me the wisdom that's above my knowledge. Mm-hmm. Give me the next creative step that I personally am incapable of seeing, but you're not incapable of seeing. And man, it happens often. So, I think sometimes taking the pressure off is like, important. Because the Lord's going to do it. If the Lord is putting the seed in your heart, He's going to pave a way, right? So letting Him actually pave the way and getting out of His way is, for me, sometimes the hardest part is like just getting out of His way. Because like He'll do it, but sometimes I'm like, but what if we, we could just, and He's like, that's not the way. If you just take a left, there's a shortcut. He's like, that's not the way. We're going the long way.
The shortcut, right?
You don't know the traffic that's in there. You don't know what's going to be in there. There's a pile up, and we're going to avoid it. You may take the extra 5, but it's going to save you 50. But like, that's why His ways are higher, right?
And it's so you'll hear so many testimonies of people immediately figuring stuff out. So it's like the Lord will make up for lost time or what you feel is lost time by immediately putting you right where you need to be. And something that I think if you're out there and you're searching and you're unsure, you need to meet with somebody. You need to talk with somebody. You need to get with a like-minded individual or small group of people. It's so important. We talk about spiritual fathers and mothers and life groups. We talk about all that stuff on here. For me, I've told you guys, my dad's my spiritual father. I don't need that, but I think I still needed like a mentor. I needed someone else also. And so along with getting counseling, I feel like that's what I'm pursuing with Pastor Jeff. He talked about one time the big ask. And he was specifically talking to the men about, asking another man, like someone older than you or someone wiser than you, to step in and help. And that was like back months ago. This was forever ago, but it's still in my heart. And it's crazy how the Lord's worked it out to this season now. And now I'm starting to see the picture a little bit. It's so funny how little, Danny's talked about that before. Seeing a picture and not really knowing what the painting is, and then becoming more and more clear.
Yes.
And I think that's just the season we're in right now, where God is really showing me in every season. He's been there. He's been painting, or the painting was already done, right? And then I am just walking into it.
He's just zooming out.
I'm just zooming out and seeing the whole picture. Like me having a career right now is all God. Like me being a career employee right now, it's all God.
Yeah.
Me doing this, it's all God. Without God, I wouldn't be able to, like we were just saying, like I wouldn't be the best at doing this, but He's helped me. The Holy Spirit's helped me and grown me. And I had to put in the work. And what does the work look like for you? I think you don't have to like get forever counseling. It might just be like 3 or 4 sessions of just getting it out of your head and having someone else think it through with you, giving you sound advice, giving you some pointers, some things to help you. And what are you passionate about? Because it seems like when you step into that, something we're talking about is nothing worth doing is easy. Like it's always like it's going to be hard to do things, but the Lord's called you to do it. So it's okay for it to be like hard along the way.
Absolutely. I definitely think it's okay that it's like not easy all the time, like hard things are a lot of times worth pursuing, right? Like it's kind of like people talk about like going and getting a career and it's like, well, look where this doctor's at. And it's like the doctor put in like years and years and years of hard work to get where they're at. Like they didn't just get there. They didn't just say, you know what, I can pick up a syringe or a scalpel.
Yeah,
I'm a surgeon. Yeah, let me just pick up that scalpel. No, they did diligent effort. Like that's kind of the point. It's like the effort is partnering with the Lord, right? It's like He's going to take care of it, but we still have an obligation to partner with Him. Like we still have to be willing to put in the work to follow the way that He's leading. It's kind of like reaping what you sow. They still do manual labor to sow. Right. You know what I mean? Like they don't just get it. It's not just given to them in their hands most of the time. It's like they actually go and clear the fields. Like they put the work in for this. I mean, they might not have sowed the seed. They might not have watered it, but somebody's still going to go out and manually sow it typically. So I think that just think things would be handed to you is just not like, I would say that's not, I'm not going to say it's not possible. Just, I wouldn't say that that's the most typical. I would say you're typically like putting work in, you know?
This is the first time the audience has ever seen you. And yes, she's married, hence the name Wisdom with my wife. And yes, she's beautiful. So, you know.
I did not put makeup on for this. So if anybody else wants to know, like, there's no stress. I'm literally in my jams. So
we're, pushing it. Getting this in,
I mean, I told him, I was like, I could have put some effort in, but you know what?
You don't need no effort.
This is what real life is. I would, however, like to paint this back wall because this brown is, time to go.
Yeah, I'm thinking about doing it at the church and doing it here, but we'll see. I mean, this is just, we had to do it here, and
well,
for us, it's easier.
Yeah, for us, it's easier.
What color would you like to see the wall painted?
100%.
Jody needs some ideas. Our trailer used to be all brown, but now the brown is just located in the kitchen where we're at right now. This is our dining room.
And the bathrooms.
Okay, so there's still a lot of brown, but the main room and the Caleb's room are different colors, and Lucas's room. So I was gonna say Lucas's room, but I wasn't for sure. I didn't want to say that and not be sure. Yeah. Okay, that's just a little bit of some stuff, some tidbits, some stuff. What is God preparing you for, and how are you preparing yourself? Because you might feel defeated. I'm telling you, I was feeling defeated before I met with Pastor Jeff yesterday. I was feeling like I was kind of starting getting in my worldly thinking, sadness, anxiety, depression. I think I've realized like some of that might be coming from like loss I've experienced in my past, and like kind of thinking like, have I grieved the grief? And it was something that Virginia and I kind of touched on a little bit during my testimony, and some stuff I've just been thinking through, like, why do I get so anxious when Jody doesn't text me back? Why do I have, like, random thoughts of, like, death in my family and stuff? And it's probably because I've had a couple deaths in my life, and realizing that it's kind of almost given me a little bit of a peace it makes it a little bit easier to get those thoughts out, because everyone has a different way of rebuking those thoughts, right?
Mm-hmm.
For Garrett, he literally like swipes them out of his brain. His imagination is like a little movie cinema, and he can just skip it. Almost like you're skipping an ad on a video. You were gonna say something. I can
Yeah,
feel it.
I mean, I used to do this like really weird thing when I like couldn't get out of my own head. Like I would pretend I was pulling the thoughts out of my head.
Yeah,
Like
similar thing.
legitimately, like just like I could physically remove like almost like a physical action to the mental struggle.
Mm.
Like taking an actual action against my own mental capacity.
Yeah.
And that really was significant help for me. And I mean, now I go to the gym and stuff, but like sometimes I think putting a physical.
Yeah, that's what he
is
did. He
helpful.
physically would swipe his hand
Yeah.
until he got it so instilled into him to where he could just do it mentally. But he would literally like swipe it out. And for me, I think realizing some of that stuff was making it easier for me to get it out of my head. For me, I have to think that stuff through. I have to think like, no, I don't want to think that, or I have to put a lot of mental. I don't know, like the Lord. We were just talking about imagination last time we were together, and how awesome it can be once you're using it for the Lord.
Correctly, yeah. But how it can also be like a pitfall.
A huge pitfall.
Because your mind will spin, especially if like you're feeding stress or anxiety or depression. Like it can just spin. And sometimes breaking that cycle is tough because some of those things, especially if you get used to them and they become patternized, it's like all of a sudden it's like really hard to break that pattern because that pattern is comfortable. Just in my experience, that pattern becomes comfortable. I guess everybody's different, but for me, the pattern becomes comfortable.
Yeah, you just get comfortable with it.
It's like at least I'm like prepared for the worst.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm at least prepared for like whatever event is gonna happen. It's like eventually learning like I don't have to always be in preparation. It's not always a fight or flight. It's
right.
like
And how many scenarios have you prepared for to the extent, to the nth degree or whatever they say, and then that situation go nothing like how you planned for it?
Like totally fine. The person just says okay, and you're like,
right.
All right.
Yeah, like you're prepping
that went
like
well.
hard. Like I've had this conversation 600 times in my head, and then it doesn't go like any of them.
Yeah.
It's like Doctor Strange trying to figure out the ending of the Endgame movie where he does 5,000 things. So yeah, you just build, and don't do that to yourself alone. You got to talk to somebody. And sometimes I'll go in to meet with Pastor Jeff, and I think all this stuff is going to come out, and then it's so crazy how the Lord will orchestrate our conversations where sometimes none of it comes out, but the conversation we have was so helpful that I can take things that we talked about and apply them to those things. And so it's an application rather than like a venting. Because sometimes we don't need to just vent and think. We do need to vent, but sometimes we don't need to just sit there and think about that stuff over and over and over and over. We need a fresh renewal, right? Renewing your mind, like the Word tells us. And you need a fresh thing to think about. Because without a fresh thing to think about, you're going to think about that old thing. So what's the fresh thing? What's the new thing? What's the thing that the Lord's doing in your life right now?
Yeah, 100%. Because I love the sermon that we had a few weeks ago where he talked about not harping on your past. It's like in your mind, how often do you do that? How often do you go back to situations and talking about how, you have to make that conscious effort to just not.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a big thing too, because sometimes, it's not even just like an anxiety thing. It's like, you'll go back to things that you may have already, moved past, or maybe really not moved past, and you'll just keep going back and back. So I think, sometimes getting help whenever you realize you can't move past is probably a good idea.
Yeah, I just know what it's like to not move past it for so long. In all of my stages of addiction, it was like a one-man battle, and it didn't need to be. A lot of beating myself up over stuff. I was thinking about it today. I know we're just going off on tangents. I'm sorry. It's just letting the Lord lead us. But I was in my van delivering mail today thinking about, you might think that the next step the Lord has for you is insane. And it's not. You know what insanity is? Insanity was me being an alcoholic, doing the same thing every single day and expecting a different outcome. Going to bed hungover or feeling like crap, waking up the next morning feeling the same way, thinking, well, tomorrow, I'll get it tomorrow, and it never coming. That's what insanity is. It's not insane that the Lord's calling you to great things. That's not insane. You're worth it. So just changing your mindset, it was so cool to me that I had that little download today.
He's so big. Like, I just feel like sometimes we put him in a box.
Yeah.
You know, because we think we should be in a box, and it's like,
right.
You know, I think sometimes, and then the hard part is breaking that box, right? Where it's like, it's not even, you know, I think so often it's like we get consumed in like us. Like, I feel like that is just like, that's like so often it is like, it's us, you know? So I feel like a lot of times, like I think that's why it's so important to read your Bible and just constantly remind yourself that like, it's not even about me, you know? Then you start to take pressure off, you know, because it's like, well, who cares what they think, because I just care what God thinks, you know? And it's like, okay, well, who cares if this isn't successful, if it helps the Lord in some way, if it's a seed. I don't get to see every part, you know? It's like, as long as you're following the Lord, then all of those things start to fall away. But whenever you start going, well, what will someone else think? Well, can I do it? Is it me? And when you start to get, it's almost like I think it's pride.
It is.
You know, like when you're like,
That's
well,
good.
I can be good enough.
Yeah.
Well, I can show off. I want them to see that I can do it. And it's like, it's really not you doing it. Like, I mean, you're there, you're active hands, you're partnering, but like God's coming through and making it happen for you. So like, I think sometimes, you know, if you can get in that mindset, you know, if you can, it's that, I feel like it's that realization when I'm like, why am I worried about something? It's not even about me. I think that's such a huge helpful thing. Yeah, because I mean, I feel like, you know, it's really easy to get prideful, you know, and pride comes in all different forms. You know, it's like being the best or being the worst. Both are prideful. So, because all of it comes back to this selfish me. Right? That's why I think serving is such a powerful thing, because it's like when you're serving others, you start to put yourself out of the way. And I feel like that opens a lot of doors. I feel like that's been an incredible thing in my life and that I really, really enjoy. So, yeah, I think sometimes, you know, like humbling yourself, right?
Yeah. You know, Pastor John says we're in a ramp to relaunch season. And I think our relaunch is about to take off. And in this preparation, my step one was relationship with the Lord. Because as we grow, more eyeballs, more ears, I can't be so focused on what everyone else thinks. Now, I need to take account of what people think, and especially the people that I care about. But I need to make sure my relationship with the Lord is strong so I can trust and know that I'm hearing from Him.
Yes.
That I'm trusting in Him. And what does that look like? You hear that in church all the time. What does that look like? What do you mean? How am I supposed to work on my relationship with God? Where is He? You hear that all the time, you know? Well, it starts with me cutting out some of the things I used to do, cutting out my old ways. And that's not just drinking. That's everything else. You know, all the things that need to be cut out, I needed to cut them out. And then giving Him my time. Like, we all have, like, a finite amount of time. And it goes quick. The day's gone. Here it is, 9 o'clock, you know. It's getting late. I'm going to go to bed in about 30 minutes. So you have to make time. And, you know, in 2 Peter, it talks about, you know, it's worse off for people who know the truth and then, like, go astray away. And I've done that in my life. And I don't want to do that anymore. I was truly getting to a Y in the road. The Lord had said, enough. I've given you grace to the point of where I'm not going to get mocked anymore. And I was like, whoa, you know, like, I'm not mocking you, but in a sense I was. And so I needed to correct myself. And so also with the serving thing, there'll be some conversations that will be had soon about that as well. So I'll keep you guys updated on me serving in my church, just wanting to use the wisdom and trusting in my pastors. So definitely some more things to figure out. I'm going to continue doing this regardless of what I do serving capacity at the church. I know I messed up, but I feel like the Lord's called me to do it. So I'm going to keep on doing it, and thanks for having grace on me. So let's dive into this list a little bit. Is that cool? Do you want me to read or you want to read? You want to read one side? This is our new list. This is the list halfway through the year list. Not quite halfway, but.
Okay. So, physical. We're going to believe for a debt-free home until we receive it. You're not going to hear us say anything other than we are going to walk in that. Whatever that looks like we're walking in it. So,
wasn't Pastor John saying some amazing things about Prosperity Sunday?
Mm-hmm.
Some amazing stuff. We're blessed to be a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to believe for prosperity.
Yeah.
Look for opportunities to give with little so that whenever the prosperity comes, you can give with a lot. Because we never want to be greedy. I don't want to hoard money until we have a debt-free home. I want to give like I'm given just to give.
100%.
And so it takes a little bit of a mind shift to get yourself like that, but it is so fulfilling in your heart when you're able to give to people and not expect to receive anything back.
Yes.
So
it's the best.
We are believing for a debt-free home, and that's staying on the list.
We're in that. It doesn't stop us from sowing by any means. Yeah, but
and tithing, we tithe faithfully.
You know,
I think that's very important.
And it never feels like we're short. It's not like we ever look at our bank and we're like.
I remember when we first started doing it, our accounts were not looking so hot, and I was like, "Ooh, can we tithe?" Or sometimes we'd miss a week and we double up. Oh my gosh, a double up tithe! Woo, that's a lot of money. And now it's like, I'm like, is it payday? Got to get on there and give. And we've started to give through the phone. I kind of miss writing the check a little bit, but it still means the same as long as you put your heart into it.
Yeah.
So whatever is easiest, whatever keeps your heart in doing it, and the right heart and stuff.
Absolutely. We have Daniel's van getting paid off.
Woo.
We want to eat healthier. We did do a protein shake this morning.
We're going to try to do, we saw this little video, 30, 30, 30, right?
Yeah.
30 grams of protein, which we're getting in the protein shake with 30 minutes
in the first 30 minutes of waking up.
Right.
With 30 minutes of low cardio workout, 135 beats per minute. So it's not it'd be more like a brisk walk. It's not like you're running. You're not sprinting.
My first alarm was for 5:30 to do the walk this morning, and I didn't get out of bed till after 6. So I am still failing. I had a sleep study done. Hopefully that unlocks some things to where I can sleep better and for longer. And I also realized if I drink it on the way to work, I start off pretty physically active. I mean, I know there's a lot of standing at first, but I'm pretty active in my mornings, so maybe that will help too.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very sweet.
That shake was shaky.
Yeah, we did it. We did it. We're trying.
We did it.
We're not perfect, but we are trying.
Absolutely.
A full year of sobriety for Daniel.
Woohoo!
I would still like to get my CPA or a master's degree. I'm not going to lie, it is tough to find the time with how busy I am at work, but I'm trying to figure out how to carve time.
I do want to tell the audience that you are just as passionate about things as I am, and just because of where you're at, we don't get to talk about all of it, but you are a very passionate and driven person, and I really do want to encourage all the women out there that listen, she's got the grind for real, and she is no joke when it comes to being passionate about putting the work in, for sure.
Yeah, I'm willing. It's just, I do have a reasonable human being limit sometimes. So what do we got here? A podcast studio.
You know it.
So, and we're gonna be believing big for that.
I think it'd be awesome if the Lord intertwines that into our home. It would save us money in the long run. But if he has a building set out for us to do it there, I'm all for it. So however he sees fit.
Yeah, I think it's so important. It's like even with our like putting debt-free home, it's kind of like I know that some people ask specifically, and there are some specifics, but also sometimes, like I feel like I could limit God if I'm not careful, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah. I don't feel like
You
he's
know?
given me a specifically on that yet. Because, like, as I've been doing this, he's given me more specific things.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
2 more microphones.
2 more. Even 1 more, really. I know I put 2 on there just because in general, but even 1 more, because I was talking to some people, I would love to have couples on.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to Anna Yance and Kimberly, and I'd love to have them back on just as a duo of good friends. I think that'd be an amazing podcast. So even 1 more, figuring out how to video that would be interesting. But yeah, that's awesome.
Well, you've got next 2 cameras for podcast and equipment, so
We got that iPhone.
yeah, that's true.
One. Even if I do 3, 1 will be good for right now. I can't even do editing. This is kind of giving me anxiety even thinking about it, and it shouldn't be hard because I should just be able to put the audio with the video. So
We've got Caleb getting potty trained. That's really big for us. Really
little
big
kid
for us.
life, toddler life.
Yeah, we do a lot of diapers, guys. We are very much looking forward to if we can cut some of those out. We will be elated.
I bought some pull-ups, and we are still going through this box of pull-ups I bought.
We hate it.
If you can just tell on the look on her face, no bueno.
Diapers easier. I mean,
Yeah.
praise the Lord for people who can do it. I'm so proud of you. God bless you.
You're better at adulting than us.
You're
We'll
better
just
at
give it
adulting. Yeah, we are struggling. Taking their pants off every time, pulling it up. I'm like, we just hit that strap.
Getting them fed and bathed,
I mean, they're surviving. They're
priorities.
Just,
Lucas is getting tubes, so send up
Yeah.
a prayer for him. If you guys
Yes.
don't mind, we love you guys and appreciate that.
100.
100 subscribers?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm believing for 100 subscribers to the podcast, yeah.
Less stress at work. I think that one's for me.
Maybe.
Yeah. My job can be super stressful sometimes. So a little bit less of that would be cool. I'm trying to carve out some new systems, and when you do new things, there's a lot of stress to figure out all the pieces.
We need better chairs. We should put chairs on the list. Man, my back is killing me in these wooden chairs. I'm like scooting around. Sorry, guys. Keep up with me.
They are squeaky, so we did not buy WD-40, so
Yeah, the rain stopped, I
you
think.
just gotta bear with us where we're at.
I was wondering if we're going to get some rain in the background. I think it's chilled out, though.
Health is always a good one to go put on there. Like Lucas's tubes, you know what I mean? Just getting him to a good place where we're not doing antibiotics over and over and over again for us is going to be huge.
Yeah.
Really looking forward to that. Sound sleep. We know that's for you. We're in process of that.
I just sent back the sleep study today, so hopefully I hear back from him next week.
It's not just for
Wednesday.
him. It's also for me because the snoring is
The real deal.
the real deal.
Hey, if you're 28 out there and you're still a healthy weight, it's okay to get a sleep test done.
Yes. Yes. If you sound like a bear, think of her.
I've been told. I can't back up the claims.
I can video if necessary. I can support.
That'd be a great little extra on the podcast clip. Little me snoring action.
You building your guitar skills,
Yeah.
and then us having date nights bi-weekly.
We're coming up on that this week.
And we ain't got time.
And we ain't got time this week.
We do not.
So I'm going to have to look at next week.
Yeah, because we are jam-packed with worship. We'll be at Danny and Christie's, and then I've got the podcast, and then Ladies Living Free. So.
Yeah, and Sunday's Mother's Day, so there's no.
Yeah, that's. Well, I mean, I guess that day's about me.
Yeah, but we'll have whenever I think of date night, I don't think boys.
True.
So the boys will be there with us. But yeah, I mean,
100%.
we'll still celebrate you absolutely.
Um.
And grill for you or something, depending on the weather. Or I can take you somewhere. I just know those lines be wild on Mother's Day.
No, I already know what I want, so.
Oh, we'll talk about it.
Don't even stress it.
All right.
Um.
No stress.
You can take over on the spiritual side.
We going for it. Okay, so we start off with read the Bible all the way through for me. I've been reading, like I told you guys, in 2 Peter. I finished this second. I'm going back to 1 Peter now. I read 2 Peter all the way through. I'm going to read 1 Peter. I'm going to eventually get into her Bible that splits it up or find my own one that does it maybe a little bit different than hers does. I don't know. I might do some research into that.
I really liked mine a lot, like as far as like the pieces. There were things that I liked and didn't like, so mine kind of broke it up into pieces where you'd always have like it starts in the beginning of the Old Testament. You'd have a Psalms, a Proverbs, and then eventually I think it had a little bit of the New Testament, right? So you'd get a little bit of everything. That was really good because it was a good breakup as far as like just not getting overwhelmed, especially when you're like in the beginning and you're going through the genealogy and it is just massive amounts of names.
Yeah.
And I tried to read every single one of them. I didn't miss a beat. But let me tell you, I was butchering. Okay. But it did kind of, I didn't love how sometimes it would break the stories up. Right, so then you'd have to really go back and think like, okay, I feel like I'm missing something, and go back and read a little bit of the last one sometimes just to feel like I'm really fully understanding.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think like sometimes just reading it block by block in order, could be easier. There are some things that I went back afterwards and were like, okay, now I want to read this whole thing through.
Yeah, that might be interesting to like take notes alongside and say, hey, go back to this. And then set myself up some stuff. And then that way, once I read my assignment for the day, I can maybe even just go back into my regular Bible and just read some more if I'm still interested in finding out more about a specific. And even if I reread some stuff, it'll be okay. So that's, yeah, just hearing you talk about it makes me kind of think I'll just stick with yours because the daily Psalms and Proverbs, man.
Oh, it was incredible.
A daily psalm or proverb, right?
Even if I would say, even if you like just wanted to read like a small amount, like and you're just doing like a quick meditation, like you're just trying to spend like 5 minutes.
Yes.
A proverb.
Right.
Or a psalm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, incredible. Seriously, you get so much out of it. It actually, my Bible has you read Psalms twice.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so good. I feel like I just received all year from it. So even if I hadn't touched anything else, I would have received so much just from that small section. And you can keep it from being overwhelming for yourself if you need somewhere to start. So.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Time together with the Lord, and we put our names beside that because I think it's important for us together to spend time with the Lord. And with that, we put prayer, scripture, and quiet time.
Yeah.
And then we got time together as a family with the Lord with the same stuff: prayer, scripture, worship. Just giving it to our kids early and letting them see this is just how we live.
Yeah.
Something that I didn't understand. I think my dad thought I understood it just because it was the way we lived, but I didn't. I didn't understand it. I was, I guess, a little naive whenever I was a youngster, which I guess most kids are. And so I didn't see the writing on the wall. I didn't get it. So it was like, still felt kind of religious sometimes for me whenever it was relational. My parents have had some of the best relationships with the Lord I've ever known. Just consistent, praying, just the way they walked, the way they talked. They were always willing to give. Anytime we were on a trip, they were feeding people. They were doing things behind the scenes. They were just always willing to give.
Yeah.
So I hope to acknowledge that I didn't get it and hopefully maybe portray it better to my kids. And they'll still probably have their rebellious season and understanding that, you can only do so much.
Yeah.
But it's something that I think about, you always think about whatever you were raised with, be appreciative of it.
Yeah, but you came back to it, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like they did instill it though. You know what I mean? And you can look at your parents and know that they are relational. You know what I mean? Especially as you grow in your walk. It's almost like this amazing thing that like as you grow in your walk and you look at your parents' walk, you're like, wow, they were so good at that.
Right.
Like it's not like they just like went to church and then came home and like that was it.
Right.
Like
right.
you got
For
to
sure.
see it lived out, and so many people I feel like don't get to see that. So
yeah, I don't want to downplay. I'm definitely appreciative of what they raised me in, and I've talked to a bunch of people on the podcast who have testimonies of teenagers who aren't getting it. So
there's
like,
hope.
yeah, it's okay.
It's okay.
Like they'll figure it out.
It is,
and I figured it out, and
it is incredible watching Caleb sing worship songs. It's like the best.
he picks them up quick.
He does.
3 or 4 listens, and he already knows the chorus, and a couple more, and he's basically got the whole song down. He's very bright.
He's got his
Lucas
prayer time
has more of a passionate response to the worship.
Yeah.
And Caleb doesn't have it as much, but he definitely likes singing along with it.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know. I just watch him, and I think whenever I see Lucas hear a song come on, even if I'm like watching some Facebook reels, he's like, it could be anything. It doesn't have to always be Jesus music, but for the most part, that's what we listen to.
Yeah, he has a real passion for music, I think. For like a young child, So, I mean, naturally, maybe so. Not for me, obviously. You never see me do. You never see me with an instrument, but.
Yeah, it's never too late.
For me, it is.
Yeah, maybe it's just.
We all have our strong suits, and I'm gonna pursue other things.
You keep yourself too busy for an instrument. I couldn't imagine. Daniel, more quiet time with the Lord. Yeah, just I've been doing better at work, giving him more time. I've been getting a lot of downloads lately, and I don't know how else to describe them other than like my imagination and the Lord like just kind of working in my heart and rethinking this trajectory we're on with this podcast. It just takes one. It just takes one person, the one right person to set us off. And I'm just going to start believing into that. And it's not only just for me, it's for you, for y'all to hear people of influence and hear their story. And I love the fact that I can always bring on people who aren't always just the most known, because there's so many amazing testimonies.
Oh, so many. But it is cool to just continue to grow in perspective, because we do all walk different walks of life.
Yeah. We got fasting, which we did a almost 24-day one.
24-day, 24-hour.
What did I say, 24-day?
Yeah. We ain't good like that.
Yikes. 24 hours. Days and hours are a little different. My bad. 24 hour. So, keeping that on the list, obviously. So.
Yeah. Small steps.
And we got spiritual gifts on here, which we talked about. There's a bunch of stuff. Mm-hmm. We got confidence for Jody, which I think you're pretty confident.
Yeah, I just sometimes confidence in what I'm hearing from the Lord. It's because sometimes I doubt, right, and I always I always love, because every now and then, right, whenever I'll get something that I'm just I'm so sure of. Right, and that I don't need confirmation on, right? I can just be okay, I feel good about that.
Yeah.
But so often, even if I have that moment, I eventually start to doubt. Right? So
yeah, it's been a weird push on that confirmation stuff lately.
Yes.
A lot of issues with that. And I think, us talking about it is good, but it's good to be confident and know hey, I've searched the scripture, I've prayed about this, I'm sure.
Yeah,
that's okay.
And also sometimes,
you can get confirmed from other people. Like it doesn't, something I think I mentioned it on here is like, I was always, maybe it was just at life group. I was always looking for certain people to confirm this. And then the confirmation came from other people who I
Yeah.
wasn't expecting it
Oh
from.
yeah, you did talk
And I
about
could
that.
have missed it. I could have just taken that and been like, well, that's not really what I want. But that was the Lord giving me confirmation.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it comes from the people you don't expect, not always just like, you know.
Yes. No. Yeah. Sometimes it does, and sometimes it's important to, for it to come from people like you're in relationship with who understand your heartbeat and stuff like that. So.
And sometimes you need to make a decision on something in the moment, and you can't wait for confirmation from me or from somebody else. If you need to make a decision and stand in it, you need to, and confidence in your work environment, in your workplace. I think, that's important. And it's important for people to know, like, whenever I see you, I see confidence. And it's important for people to realize, like, sometimes we look at people and we put them on a pedestal. We think they've got it all figured out. But for you to have put that on your list, it shows you, like, everyone struggles.
Mm-hmm.
Even the person you think is the most confident might put on a list, if they had a list, I need to be more confident in certain situations.
Yeah.
And so that's encouraging to me to know it's on your list, because, like, I would have never, just sitting here thinking about it, I'm like, man, confidence, really? But, like, yeah. That's awesome.
Confidence,
You any more confident, we're going to be blowing the roof off this place.
confidence in the Lord, not necessarily confidence
I'm just picking
in work
on you a little bit.
and stuff. Yeah, cause,
Confidence in the Lord. Yeah, that's huge. It's totally different than just confidence in yourself. It takes you out of the equation, right?
Yeah, because sometimes, like I said, doubt's a strong, powerful tool of Satan, and I believe, like, I need confirmation sometimes, and then sometimes I'm good, but I wish sometimes, like, I would just trust what I'm hearing from the Lord more, because sometimes I get the confirmation, but it's like, it's almost like I don't trust the Lord unless I get it, and it's like, sometimes it's like, I should just trust the Lord,
Man, I wish you would have listened to that song I sent you.
So it's like, and it's not that, like, the Lord is so good to me in the confirmation and knowing that, like, I need that.
Yeah.
He is so incredible about honoring me on that, and I do ask for it. So,
You don't have your phone on you, do you?
No. But it is really cool that if I could get to a place of, like, just being more confident in what I hear, because sometimes, you get confirmation, but sometimes you also get people who will speak into your life who really shouldn't, who don't really have a place, who aren't really walking with the Lord. And then that's part of what causes those seeds of doubt and confusion for me, when I'm like, they don't really know me, they're not really in relationship with me, they don't really understand what I'm doing or where I'm at with the Lord, or maybe they're not walking with the Lord, and they don't really have the place to sow into my life like that. And so then, instead of it being like a confirmation from the Lord, which maybe he was trying to give me, I get confusion from someone who doesn't understand where I'm at, who's not walking with the Lord, who maybe sees something I'm doing as, like, crazy, instead of seeing, like, God's doing a work. They have the world's perspective, the fleshly perspective, rather than having God's perspective. And so I feel like I have to be careful then about who I let sow into that.
Yeah.
Like, almost like protecting it, like protecting what the Lord is giving me. And so I think if I could be more confident in what he's telling me, then sometimes some of those people coming in before maybe I get the confirmation from godly counsel. Sometimes, you get hit. Sometimes even when you seek godly counsel, you get hit right beforehand with the doubt.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So sometimes maybe, and then that will deter me sometimes from even asking for the godly counsel. Because then I've already doubted myself too much. Yeah, and I'm like, now I don't want to seek it because I don't know.
Yeah.
So sometimes if I could just be confident enough even to seek the counsel.
Yes.
And not allow somebody who doesn't have the right to sow into my life and with their fleshly perspective, it would do me a lot of good.
That's so good.
So
there's so many times I go into those meetings, those counseling sessions, and I'm, like, unsure of what I'm about to say. Like, I've thought about it all day. I'm so sure all the way up into the moment. That's so good that you brought that up. The enemy is going to try to deceive you at the last moment. Quench your fire just at the last moment. It takes confidence.
Yes.
It does. You're so right. Confidence in knowing
in the Lord.
and it doesn't sound stupid. Stop, like I want to tell myself, like,
Yes.
stop thinking that. Like, it's not
Yes.
stupid to think that. Like, you're human. It's okay to think like that. Like, you immediately just try to think, oh, well, that's stupid or that's not good or whatever. And like, that's just not the case. Like, you need to say it. It's been on your heart all day for a reason. So I love that you brought that up because that is that's a huge part of confidence. Confidence all the way to
Yeah,
the
to the
end, to
finish.
the through it. You can have confidence all the way up into the very last second, and then if you drop the ball, you drop the ball,
Mm-hmm.
and then you don't get that crucial moment you needed with that person.
Exactly, because it doesn't matter when Satan steals it if it's at the beginning or the end if he steals it, you know. So,
Oh man, he revels in getting in at the last minute.
so
You
it's
know,
I think just like a confidence in the relationship. I think, and it's somewhat a confidence not necessarily in myself, but in knowing that like I've put the work in, like I'm in
right?
the Word, I'm in prayer, like I'm not just bringing things out of nowhere,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's not. Yeah, I think that it's just a huge thing.
And when it comes to people like you're not able to trust, or people who might be giving you bad advice. You had a coworker who, when you were talking about me, she's like, "It's so refreshing that you're talking about your husband in a loving manner."
Yeah.
And I think back to our old friend groups before we were in church, and there was a lot of relationship bashing, a lot of
Oh, it's
choosing
horrible.
sides, and the world, and when you're in your cubicle, or you're in an office, or you're in the kitchen, or whatever your job is, people are going to be in terrible moods, complaining. You're going to be forming all these ideas, and they're going to be filling you up with a bunch of junk if you're not careful. If you allow it to seep in, and so that shows us that we're in a new season,
Yeah.
to where it is like when we talk about each other, it's all love.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's just gotta be, I think, guarded, and I think that's also the wisdom of a relationship. I will say, that's something I talked to my sister about. Is like she's like, man, I like when people just like talk so negatively about their partner. It's like, she goes, I mean, just because you're talking negative about your partner doesn't mean I have to talk negative about mine, right? And there was I heard such a wisdom in that, and saying like, I
Mm.
don't have to go with like the group mentality of like, we're all mad about this. It's like, just because you're
Mm.
mad about it doesn't mean I have to be mad about it. Like, I can still speak love when you don't speak love,
Yeah.
and
It's like that click thing. Like
yeah, it's
you're
mob
almost getting like
mentality.
peer pressured into
Yeah.
trying to pick one thing to be
Oh,
upset
well,
about to fit in.
it's like,
And you don't have to be like over braggadocious and be like, well,
yeah.
I'm everything's good. You can just probably
You
not
say, hey,
say
that's
anything,
not
or
something,
saying like
yeah,
I'm good. You know what I mean?
that's
Keeping
not
it
something we struggle with,
short and
and
sweet with those crowds.
yeah, I can have
If they want to know more,
you can have compassion and say that maybe that circumstance is tough,
been there, done that.
but we're walking in something different, and that's where advice and stuff can come in to play, but you just, I feel like, have to be guarded, right? Like, so, yeah, I think that's such an important thing. And I think something I've learned more and more over the past year is like, whoever speaks into, like, because words are so powerful, so allowing someone to speak over me has like a power and a grip. So I need to be wise in saying like, you have the right to speak that over my life, or saying like, hey, like, I'm not gonna take that, like, you have no place to speak that over my life, and just because it'll fester, right? Then it becomes a mental thing where like, huh, well, maybe he did do something that made me mad, and it's like, no, he didn't.
Right.
No, he
Man, he
did
really
not.
didn't want to change that diaper yesterday, and I really wanted him
Like,
to.
relax.
Amen. That's good stuff.
So
The last thing we got on here is spiritual growth for our families.
yeah,
We're believing for a bunch of stuff.
yeah,
So, I know there's salvations that need to happen in my family that we're
mhm,
believing for. So we're just believing for a lot of the Lord to be
yeah,
moving in our families.
just to come in and kind of fill those gaps, and it doesn't have to be us. We're just praying that he puts the right people in place, right? Like,
Absolutely.
if it is us, we're good with it, right? We want to live a life that exemplifies like him, so
Mm-hmm.
that when they do ask the question, or they do ask what's different, or like, why do we have peace in a situation that they don't understand, or how can we show love instead of anger? Like, we can answer correctly,
Mm-hmm.
but also sometimes with family, the people that they can't hear it from is family.
Right.
So we just pray for like sowing, like, and that other people are just kind of like put in the path, to fill the gap. Um,
Amen.
so I mean,
Always be prepared and
yes,
always be in prayer.
yes,
That's good stuff. That's our list, guys. I think this is a good spot to wrap it up. Um, here's the next step for us. I'm so
yeah,
excited to share it with you guys. Feel free to like and share, comment. If you guys have any ideas of things you want Jody and I to dive into next
yeah,
time, leave a comment below on the
yeah.
video or on the Facebook page, however you guys want to get a hold of it. Thank you guys so much.
We
We're gonna
love you
be
guys.
we're gonna be praying for you guys that you find new confidence. I feel like
Mm,
that was a really good thing Jody was saying there. Take that with you this week, uh, and we'll be praying that the Lord gives you a fresh confidence in
yes,
what He's telling you,
yes,
and that you'll know.
yes.
Yeah, and like she said, we love you guys.
Love you guys.
All right, talk to y'all next week.